So no fights this weekend, and this time we have a little bit like of a different pod for you guys. We'll start off with like a little bit of MMA news, but basically what we're going to be doing in this episode is something I guess we've just been kind of calling amongst ourselves the state of the UFC. And it's just because like there's no fights this weekend. I mean, there was some grappling. There was one championship, obviously, like we'll get into. There was Sam Hyde, and we'll get into that at the end of the video. But you know, for the state of the UFC, we're pretty much just gonna go through every division and just kind of like talk about like a few things in each one, and I'll kind of like explain it when we get there. But we'll start with one championship just because it has to be talked about, and like more. Not as much like really about the fight, more just about the legacy of Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. And like I was just looking before at like the Instagram comments of the post yesterday, and like a couple of them like were saying, I think one said that Demetrious Johnson is top 3 in the GOAT conversation. Someone else is number 1. I honestly like I can't argue with either. I mean I don't know if I think he's number 1, but I see like where you could get there. But I do agree that he's definitely top 3. Like, I think he's definitely like 2 or 3, if you ask me.
I think I'm there at number 1 already. I'm honestly there. I mean, it just seems like he just doesn't age, honestly. And the fact that he just won another title this far into his career and is won a championship, which is no slouch of a promotion whatsoever. Like, we've talked about it plenty on this show. The way, I mean, like, it just speaks for itself, you know. There's not no fluke, you know, decision victory or anything. Like, this is just.
Keep talking to our people. I need to do something. Just keep talking about it.
The knee, man. I'm there, people. I think DJ's go. I wasn't there before this, but now I'm there, and I could even explain why. I mean, where I was before was GSP, and then like the win for DJ the other night, like really just like it really made me think. It's like, you know, DJ's been around longer, fought obviously in another promotion now, obviously in the UFC, his incredible flyweight run, and he's still going. That's it. He's still going, and I really have no idea when like is going to be the end for him. And obviously, like, you know, nickname Mighty Mouse, not just, you know, some nickname for show. Like, I call him that because of his stature, like
5'3", and I think he walks around at like 136 pounds, and like I'm not sure if you touched on this when I was turning off. By the way, guys, I was turning off the air conditioner. I didn't want you guys to just hear over us the whole time, so I figured I'd do that, and I didn't want to restart the pod because we were having a good conversation.
Oh yeah, that would have been super loud.
Yeah, no, I heard it and I'm like, crap. But anyway, did you like mention too like the thing about how one has like the different type of weight classes? Because I heard you talking about it.
No, yeah, and it's exactly with how one runs their promotion and all that, with the weight classes, and then of course, like, you know, in fights with the rounds and stuff, and like which type of fight like each round is gonna be. Which essentially
that's like certain fight. I mean, they have like all sorts of things in one championship, and like what you're talking about with the weight, I think. In like Demetrious Johnson's case, I think that definitely helps his GOAT conversation, because obviously in the UFC he's fighting at 125, so it's like different people of his weight. Like in this one, he's literally fighting like 135. It's crazy.
The casual fan, like, you know, or just like the newcomer fan, like, you know, they're not gonna look at a Demetrious Johnson and like just be like, yeah, like this is someone like they're gonna see a dude's, you know, frame first, and then be like, whoa, that guy looks like he just, you know, he just kills people whenever he's in there. Like, I want to see like crazy knockouts and stuff. But
then you look at him compared to anybody on the planet, and he's like this like small, like, and he's just like a streamer too. Like, he's such a cool guy.
Mighty Mouse is still giving you crazy finishes in himself too, which just like,
and crazy fights. And like you touched on it too, like the different types of fights that one does. Like, because one has obviously MMA, which this fight was. But then before this fight, remember, I think we talked about it on here when he fought Rod Tang with the mixed rules.
That's what I was. Yeah, I think that was.
I think that helps this GOAT conversation as like a full martial artist, like, because like, you know, the guys in the UFC, they're doing like one sport, maybe like two if they're doing some grappling, but like in one, I feel like that's one thing that they do that's like really revolutionary is like they do the mixed rules fights, MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. Like, it's really just like interesting promotion. Now it's on Prime Video too, so like more people are getting their eyes on it, which is awesome.
Yeah, I recently saw a headline too. I would think it was after this fight, but I'm not sure because I only saw the headline. But what I love too is like, I don't know if it was jokingly or not, but he was talking about a Henry Cejudo trilogy. I was like, oh my god, dude.
That's like a fight that got away. I mean, that's because they traded him for my boy Ben Askren. This was not. I'm wearing a Funkamania, guys. That was literally a coincidence. I didn't even think of that because, like,
dude,
as you know, I literally brought up one to you like right before we started. So that
is hilarious.
So they traded Demetrious. In case anybody doesn't know the history of this, so Demetrious Johnson obviously was in the UFC for a really long time, dominant flyweight champion, and he had actually beaten Henry Cejudo like by TKO in like the first round of their first fight. And then they fought again, and Cejudo beat him in one of the best fights I think I've ever seen at that weight class, and after that, it's because like he doesn't really talk much shit. He's a very like respectful, like humble man, and like because of that, he doesn't really like promote his fights as much as other people, and like his style sometimes it's heavy like wrestling, which the more casual audience doesn't appreciate at times how hard it is. But he was so dominant for so long, and then right when he lost, it was like they could either do the Cejudo trilogy, but then after that, it's like if he wins again, what else? So then they traded him for Ben Askren. We know how that went. Ben didn't do too hot in the UFC, sadly, as much as I love his career. But yeah, I mean, I think one championship probably won the trade in the long run.
Yeah, no,
I feel like it's more of a debate though than people give it credit for, because like I get that Ben didn't do that good, but my like argument for it was that like he pretty much built the stardom of like that whole division, like by talking shit to Colby, Usman, Masvidal especially, that like all that shit talk. Oh my god. I mean, obviously in the long run, that didn't do him too well, getting hit with that.
Ben Askren was like literally right there at like the real beginning of like, I guess, the welterweight renaissance.
Yeah, because it was like because his first UFC fight with Lawler was on the fight card that Usman beat Woodley in to win the belt, which is crazy because now we're at the end of Usman's title reign, which is nuts.
He's literally fought like OGs, like genuine like dudes that have been here for a while for a reason, and like Robbie Lawler, Damian Maia.
Yeah, they threw his ass to the wolves. I know that. I mean, because like the thing with Ben is like obviously Dana White didn't really like him that much. I mean, he came out of Bellator. That story is such like a he said, she said. I kind of tend to believe Ben more because I don't see why he'd lie. But it's like he's obviously undefeated as he gets out of Bellator. The UFC apparently had talked to him about a contract, so he requested his release, and then he got it. But then Dana said that he didn't want him in the UFC, and like he's a boring. He called him a bunch of shit, called him a bunch of names. Said I remember one quote. He said, "I'd rather watch flies fuck than watch Ben Askren fight." I was like, damn, that's a bit harsh, but you know that's how he felt about him. And then obviously him and Dana had like a very public spat the whole time. Like he was really in one because everybody was obviously clamoring to see him in the UFC, but. Yeah, and then eventually we got it. He was a little older, obviously, at the time, and they did not do him any favors with the matchups because Lawler, good striker, great takedown defense. Same thing with Masvidal. And then Damian Maia, you know, he doesn't even need takedown defense. You go to the floor with him, you're basically risking it already. And obviously Ben, that's a great fight, by the way, Ben Askren versus Damian Maia. But yeah. Damian got that insane submission. What an interesting, like, rabbit hole that trade opened up. And, like, it's been 4 years at this point, like 2018 I think that was. So I think one got the better hand though. It's like Demetrious Johnson, like you said, I think he's in the I mean, to you obviously he's number one. To me, I think he'd be number 2 or 3 because I got GSP at number 1, as you know, and then I have a hard time just picking against John Jones. And like even lately, like I've been hearing I think it was Patty Fimblett talking about it. And he says, like, you just read the names on John Jones's resume and how he beat every single one of them. You can't even compare that to anybody. And I'm like, that's fair. And that's kind of why I'm at number 2. And then Demetrious Johnson I'd put right up there at number 3. But, yeah. Great
I just think with DJ just doing it longer and, like, still winning championships is just...
It's fair. I mean, I'm definitely not saying you're wrong. It's very close. Like, I could agree with that for sure. I think, like, for me, like, if I had to argue it, I would say, like, you know, like you said, he was so dominant for such a long time, and he beat like a lot of the best flyweights that the UFC had at the time. And like now to go to one and to be fighting guys who are like much bigger than him and doing as well as he's been doing. And then like also the thing with Rodtang too.
Even Bantamweight he hung around in for
well, in the UFC.
The
I
UFC.
mean, he fought Cruz for the title. He got whooped in that fight.
Yeah.
But I mean, Dominic Cruz is 5'9" and like a lot bigger. But it's just he's had some career, man. I mean, he's 24-4 as a whole. So that's or 24-4-1. I'm sorry. But I think that's right. Ian McCall. He had a weird like thing with Ian McCall. I remember at the beginning of the Flyweight Division. That was a weird time. But yeah, no, I mean, I think you could argue it for sure. But anyway, I guess we'll end that one for now, and we'll go on to our state of the UFC conversation. And I was thinking about starting with welterweight at first, but then I was like, I don't really want to jump around weight classes. That might make it confusing. So I was like, let's just go from like heavyweight down. And
Smart.
Pretty much what we're gonna do for this, like for each division, we'll obviously mention who the champion is, just in case somebody doesn't know. What we think the next title fight should be, unless it's already booked. In that case, we'll just talk about the fight. And then our favorite prospect in the division, our favorite fighter in the division, and then the dark horse for the title. And I think that this is like a good way to like really like educate people on like the rankings and just like, you know, where everybody kind of is right now. And like it'll definitely give better context to any pods that we do in the future, because people will know like what we actually think of every division. So starting with heavyweight, obviously, champion there is Francis Ngannou. He's hurt right now with the knee injury. He's probably going to be fighting early next year, if anything. But heavyweight division's in a weird spot, and like they don't have obviously a title fight booked right now, but they had a couple big fights during the summer. Obviously, the unfortunate ending with Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades left us wondering what was going to happen. And then now we have UFC Paris in like I think it's like September 3rd, and if Ciryl Gane wins, I don't really know like where you go from there. But like if Tai Tuivasa wins, I think that's the obvious title fight, because at that point he's the clear number one contender. But I'll start with this. Who would you give the next title shot to at heavyweight?
Man, because heavyweight for so long has just always been, I don't want to say top heavy, but like, you know, it's really like
a log jam.
Yeah, like if you can finish fight quickly, like you're a heavyweight contender. And I really don't think I can say anything beyond. I really just want to see this Ciryl Gane and Tai Tuivasa fight first.
That's
I think
fair.
it's super. Yeah, it's like this is a super important fight, I think, within the division. And I mean, after that, like I don't think you can deny really. I think at least with Ciryl Gane, if he wins, you can't deny him a title fight. Another time.
I feel like they won't give it to him. I like want because I'll say this, and like it is like segueing into a little other part, and I'll go back obviously. But my dark horse in the division was Ciryl Gane, because I feel like people aren't talking about him, because he's fresh off the loss to Ngannou, so it's like it's hard to get another title shot from there, especially like when you're fighting a guy who the UFC like likes as champion. Well, I don't know if they like him because of all the money thing, but like obviously Francis Ngannou is one of the most marketable fighters on the roster. But my next title fight is like a bit unorthodox. Like I said, if Tai Tuivasa wins, it should go to him because he deserves it. But I don't think Tai Tuivasa is going to win. So that led me to think, well, if he doesn't win, where would I like to see the division go? And this is where I think John Jones should step in and fight for the title.
Yeah.
They're talking about him and Stipe, and like that might happen. And if that's the case, I think the winner of that should fight for the title. But I don't know. What do you think of that? I guess just John Jones in a title fight right away.
Yeah, I think it has to happen, because just I don't. Not that he has like the leverage and stuff, but I don't think John Jones is not coming back to fight. I guess fight his way and earn a title shot like that. Like I think he's gonna have some like super like serious conversations or wherever he needs to have them with, and he's gonna make sure like he thrusts himself into that title fight right away.
I think,
and that's why. Well, yeah, that's part of why I feel like he hasn't been active. It feels like for so long. because I think he's really just waiting on that opening. And like you said, it's man,
it's a huge fight when that happens.
it's right, exactly that too. Like, people it's gonna sell a lot.
Like I just see like Ngannou versus Jones at the top of a pay-per-view, and like that makes me like hyped.
It's a dream. Yeah, it's a dream fight right there.
Like one of the, you could argue the GOAT, like, because we're literally just talking, like I have him at number 2. I don't know where you have him, but I'm sure even with like the PED shit, it's still probably pretty high.
Easily.
Yeah, it's just, you can't, like, even if he's a cheater, you can't deny that just the people that the guy's beaten. Like, and I think that's why he deserves to be thrusted right into a title shot. I think he's earned that by just the resume that he's put together. But that's where I'd go with it. John Jones or the winner of Jones versus Stipe. But I guess from there, who would be...
Stipe too, is really... Stipe too, I mean, it's different with Stipe. I think Stipe is going to have to win at least one fight before.
Yeah. I think it should only be one fight, because I do agree with him that being the best heavyweight in UFC history should mean something.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't think he should have to claw his way back to a title shot, especially like it could be a trilogy. I mean, yeah, I would favor Francis big time, especially now, like, as Stipe gets older. But yeah, I agree though. I agree. Stipe should definitely be up there too. I'm just kind of saying John Jones just because it's more fresh, and like, it just seems like, I just feel like the UFC is not going to give it to Stipe for some reason. But anyway, who would be your favorite or just like best overall prospect in the heavyweight division? Who's someone who excites you?
He's in the top 15 right now as well.
Yeah,
went with Shamil Abdurakhimov.
Interesting one.
Yeah.
How come you picked him?
I think he has it. I really do think he has it all to be successful. Like, he's got the hands, the size, all of it, and we do need to see, a bit more of a resume being built and all that, but I mean, already being in the top 15 and all that, like,
yeah, I
think, he's got a ways to go, but I really do think I do like the path he's on right now. And
I think it's funny that because like you're almost like apologetic that he's already in the top 15, and you're gonna laugh because my guy's in the top 5. Okay. But like, let me explain like what I mean though, because like my pick for my favorite prospect in that division is Sergey Pavlovich, and like
that's who my dark horse is actually.
See, like,
that's who my dark horse is.
This is why we have a podcast. Me and him like think like this. Like, we already have like similar opinions. But, like, the reason why I had him as a prospect instead of, like, a dark horse, while I agree with the dark horse pick, obviously, I feel like since the Lewis stoppage was so bad, he hasn't gotten a lick of credit for how good that win was. And, like, because of that, I still feel like people think he's, like, unproven, even though personally, I think he's showed enough. But I think to the general public, he's still, like, an unknown, even though, because I just don't think they want to admit that Derek Lewis was probably going to end up losing that fight. But yeah, I think he's like you said about Shamil, I think he's got like all the tools, and on the ground, like, he's just lethal, and he showed against Lewis he's just as good on the feet. So now he's at number 5 and he's fresh off a win. There's a lot of directions where they could go with him. I mean, obviously above him is Gane, Stipe, Tuivasa, and Blades. So like, it's a good path right in front of you, you know what I mean? But,
I just think he makes the top of heavyweight, like, that much more flexible.
Yeah.
I feel like, because, like you just said, like, a name that's he's kind of still a name that gets swept under the rug. And, obviously to UFC brass, like, he's obviously in where he is in the rankings for a reason. Like, this is not a guy, like,
they gave him the credit.
Maybe his peers that are in the top of the rankings with him are kind of, somewhat overlooking him, but once like he's, you're booked in a fight against him, like,
start to
that's when the overlooking stops, once you start studying film and all that. So
yeah, I like it as your dark horse pick, honestly. Like I said, my pick
I do like it as a dark horse pick too. It's just, I don't think Ngannou's the guy in particular who he beats should he get that shot.
Yeah, I mean...
So I would think by the time he gets a title shot that Francis Ngannou's not the champ anymore. And if he is, I think my dark horse definition is just... it is a guy that can beat the champion, but at the same time, like, I think it's more necessarily a guy who, deserves like that shot in the near future, and then could really like give the champ a run for his money. So
the way I similarly to that, I kind of think of it as like a guy or a girl who's in like towards the top of the division who like you said, like can beat the champion, like has a good chance. But like my caveat to it is like obviously like the definition pretty much of like a dark horse is just that like it's the person that nobody really seems to be putting in that spot. But they could be there.
Yeah.
Like and if they did get the shot, you wouldn't really argue it because they probably have like a decent enough resume if they're even at that point to begin with. But I think that was a good little starting point with the heavyweight division. I think we covered a lot there. But on to the light heavyweights now. We got the current champion is Yuri Prochazka, and I don't know if the fight with Glover is actually like official yet, but I'm pretty sure it was being like talked about.
It's not. December. I haven't seen anything about that yet.
I feel like they're gonna make it though. I don't think like they're gonna go in another direction with that one, cause like that's just me. I mean, like I didn't even really like do a deep dive of that division in the sense of picking like another title fight because I just genuinely believe that that's where they're gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's been talked about so much and I haven't heard like anything else. Like every time like any like bit with Rockets or Jan or Ankalaev, like all these guys who come up, or even Jamal Hill, like they get the traction for like a day, but all you really hear about over time is that people want this rematch, and I want the rematch. That was a 5-round war, and I think that as much as I love Glover, that fight sold me on Yuri completely, and I think that Yuri might put like a bad beating on him if they fight again, and I just think that should be the next title fight. But I guess, do you have like another pick, or do you kind of like agree with me?
In terms of the next title fight?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And then I guess after that fight, whoever wins that,
That's
not that this is my dark horse pick, but Magomed Ankalaev is like just one fight away from putting himself in that like to where like you really can't like deny him that title shot. I think, especially if he wins it in convincing fashion, like with another finish, because like the Anthony Smith fight was obviously impressive and whatnot, but we saw the injury with Anthony Smith and all that. So I guess to say, if I think we really need to see no stone left unturned for Ankalaev first, and then after, once again, should the Teixeira and Yuri rematch happen, he's probably next in line. Yeah,
I would love to see Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev, number 2 versus number 3.
That's who.
5-round fight night.
That's who I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking could be like a title eliminator kind of fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how I see it personally. I just realized something too when I was looking at the rankings because I saw a name. Oh, this is heavyweight. I'm going back to that. We never said who our favorite fighters were in that division. So who's your favorite?
Oh, mine's the champ.
Yeah,
Francis. He has been for a while. I find him just literally
he's awesome.
Yeah, I've said it for years. Like if there was ever somebody in UFC I wouldn't want to get hit by, it's Francis Ngannou. And legit every single time I see him walking towards the octagon, like I'm just like worried for his opponent. Like seriously, it's like
that's how I felt when he fought Rosenstruck. I was like, if his best way to beat Ngannou,
and we saw what happened to Rosenstruck.
20 seconds did not last too long.
And then I'll even more I'm honestly become even more of a fan of Francis Ngannou just like I just feel like, not to say the odds are stacked against him or something like that, but just obviously like Dana, for instance, just feels like it's just so against them, and it's like
it's the fighter pay shit.
Exactly.
I mean,
like
anytime someone brings that up, they're public enemy
this
number one.
Like with that, I feel like just with that belt over his shoulder, he uses it as just like
it's a good negotiation
a beacon
factor.
of like exactly to like hey, like this is obviously
I'm
your most
champ, bro. What are you gonna do?
Your most important division. Like I'm the champion of it.
It's
like
the marquee one. Like
exactly.
Knows. But yeah, my favorite heavyweight, as you probably know, is Tom Aspinall. I think that dude's cool as hell. But I didn't want to spend too much time on that because obviously we already started talking about the light heavyweights. But I guess now, since we're just talking about our favorite fighters, who would your favorite fighter in the light heavyweight division be?
Well, it's the champ of this division too,
Yeah.
and it was you. Not to say he was my top, because before the Dominic Reyes fight, I hadn't known too much about him. But that Dominic Reyes fight just made me such a huge fan. Yuri Prochaska, just so slick and technical, and just the way he puts it all together is actually such a thing of beauty to watch. And then of course, the title fight with Glover. For him, even after that, for him to be like, no, that wasn't my best performance. Like, I want the rematch. I want to beat him again. Like, dude, like, how can you not root for this guy? So it's the fact that he's like, I feel like he's become, not to say like I'm all that surprised, but it feels like he has become champ in like a relatively like quick amount of time.
Well, no, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, what, 3 fights?
Yeah.
And like the third fight is the title fight. It was Volkan, then it was Dom Reyes, and then he got the title fight. So I like him a lot too. My favorite fighter is a little lower in the rankings, but it's the Bear Jew, Paul Craig. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I love the fact that he just uses jiu-jitsu to win. Like, I just respect the fact that he's that committed to it.
This was very close to being my dark horse pick.
That's not, you know what's
but
funny?
coming
I
off
thought that too.
coming off the loss, I kind of strayed away from it because I want to see him get back in there, and
I'll say by your definition though, that was kind of why I put him in that conversation, just because like I feel like he, with his skill set, especially with his jiu-jitsu, he has the skills to beat anybody on any given night if they fucking make one mistake.
No.
That's why I love him so much.
That's
It's
scary.
so exciting to watch.
That's scary for 205. You don't want, exactly. You don't want to face a guy who can, just from wherever position he gets on you, like, can end it like that.
How many people you see in the UFC like who pull guard?
Exactly.
Like, Charles Oliveira is the only other guy I can think of.
He's a madman, dude.
Nuts. Yeah, he's something else. I love watching Paul Craig fight. He's a crazy bastard.
Someone who likes to work off their back. It's like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, against Volkan, it didn't work as well.
No.
But, it doesn't work every time. That's the crazy part about it. But I still enjoy it because, like I said, I respect the fact that he just wants to use his jiu-jitsu and prove that that's how he can beat people. And, I mean, that's just kind of... And he's very, like, just passionate and fiery. Like, I remember when he fought Jamal Hill, and like how much beef there was going in, like how intense that fight was. Like, that was a big reason why I became like a huge Paul Craig fan. And like, obviously because then he like fucked up his arm in that one. But who would be your favorite prospect?
Prospect for this division, I actually had a really hard time.
I feel like there's quite a few. That's
how
I feel.
So I was actually gonna bounce off of yours to see who you were gauging on. Cause
I had a couple, and one was someone we were actually just talking, and it might just be because he's fresh in my mind from UFC 278, but Tyson Pedro is someone who gets me really excited. He's not in the top 15 yet, but I think he very well should be, and he's getting closer and closer. But another guy, I think he is number 15, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Jimmy Crute, that's another one. I think, because we haven't heard his name in a while because he's been injured, but... when he's there, I mean, he's one of the most well-rounded young fighters in that division, and I think that's why he's a threat. And, I don't think he's at the point where he's a dark horse yet. I think he has like some development to do, but the base is there. He's got crazy power in his hands. He's got a great submission game, good top control. Like, I think if he could just refine it and really just hone in, I think that a lot of those light heavyweights in the future have a hard time beating him. Same thing with Tyson Pedro, but mostly for his striking. I think his striking is already like at an elite level. But I guess with that, does that help you with yours at all or not?
I do really like the Jimmy Crute one. A little more than Tyson Pedro. I guess you could say because of Crute being ranked and Pedro not. I would like to do my homework a little bit on Tyson Pedro. I hadn't known too much about him before his last fight. So
yeah, he's had an interesting... Let me look this up, actually, because I don't want to be wrong. We kind of talked about it last week, but I didn't really go into enough detail to really, like, just search it. But he had, like, a huge layoff, and even before he had the layoff, I'm pretty sure, like, he was in a similar position that he was now. Sort of. He beat... All right, so basically... He got in the UFC in 2016. He beat Khalil Roundtree by rear naked choke in the first round. Then he beat Paul Craig by elbows on the ground in the first round. Then he lost the decision to Ilir Latifi, who's a good fighter. I can't say I know who this next guy is, but his name is Saparbeg Safarov. And he beat him by first round Kimura. And then he lost by submission to OSP, which, I mean, OSP's good on the ground. And this is before OSP was, like, what he is now. This is like 2018. But then he lost to Shogun in 2018. And then since then, it was 4 years until he fought. And that was when he fought in like April. And then he fought on the last card. So he's had like an interesting run. I think he had like a lot of injuries in the meantime, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. I feel like at this point he looks so much better than he did. And like even back then though, like he was still being talked about basically in the same realm. I mean, obviously when you're fighting guys like OSP and Shogun, at that time they were in like the top 15 range. So I think he's in a similar spot now. And I think at this point he's even more well prepared. But I guess... Did you say who your dark horse was? No, you didn't, because you said Uncle Live. You said you were thinking about it, but then no. So who did you?
This is one of the dark horses. I feel. I don't know if it's more like a casual pick or whatnot. But I mean, I do feel like really good about this one, that he's going to be champion one day, and that is, I'm pretty sure, number 6, Jamal Hill.
Number 6.
After, yep, dude, dude is so exciting. Got another win, just recently, and just. I really do feel, I don't, in the near future, at least in the near future, like, I do think this guy is going to get that shot one day.
Yeah, he's got some fast hands, man. I love watching him fight. Like, his hand speed is like a skill at that division, because there's a lot of the guys in that division that are just clunky and like older now. Like, you even look in the top 10, like Glover's in his 40s, Jan Blachowicz is almost 40, Anthony Smith is almost 40, Volkan, Thiago Santos, Paul Craig, Nikita Krylov. Like, these are all guys who have been around forever. And, like, Jamal Hill is fresh off the win off Santos. So, like, yeah, I considered him for that. The only reason why I didn't pick him, honestly, was just because I feel like he, like you kind of said, like, I feel like he's going to get it. Like,
exactly. I think by now, like, he's...
Some people are aware, I think.
Yeah.
My pick was someone who's coming off a loss, and it's a weird loss because the fight was close and it was an injury, but Alexander Rakic. Because I think that he still.
I'm a huge Rakic fan, man.
People are sleeping on him because of that fight. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, he hurt his knee, so he's not going to be getting a shot anytime soon. But when he does come back, I still think he's one of the best fighters, if not the best, in that division.
Easily.
So that's why I kind of picked him as my dark horse. But moving on, I guess, to the middleweight division. I know you'll love to talk about this because the champion is. I can already tell you guys who Tiz's favorite fighter in the middleweight division is, and that is the champion himself, Israel Adesanya.
You are right, but not as much as it used to be.
All right,
that's because we might as well just get right into it. That's because I feel like I just think Izzy's reign is like super like at risk, like more than it's ever been right now. I think even just coming off the Cannonier win, but I just feel like with that, like I think in a way it just seemed like Jared Cannonier was a little too in over his head, like just really trying to wait on that spot, pick his spots to tag him.
It's the worst way to fight him. I always say it, because you're never
exactly
gonna get it.
You're never gonna get it because like Izzy's like he's probably one of the most patient fighters. Like maybe in UFC right now, and just one of the most patient fighters I've just ever seen. Like, and with that, which is funny because my dark horse actually does still happen to be Jared Cannonier, because I do think Jared Cannonier is going to get back to that spot one day, and I would think
he got booked against Sean Strickland too, so he's getting right back into it.
Exactly, I love that.
I think he beats Strickland. I think it's a bad style matchup for Sean, because I think of it like the Pereira fight, because like Cannonier's got crazy power in his hands, and I think that one of those big overhands or a huge hook is going to come over that jab, and it's going to put Strickland's lights out, to be honest.
All in all, mainly what I'm trying to say is I think we've seen the best of Israel Adesanya already.
Damn, all right, that's an interesting take.
I think we've seen the best of Israel Adesanya already. The finishes are just not going to come in bunches like, it's like it felt like they used to, and, which is fine, like, champion, like, you do whatever it takes to keep that belt.
Yeah. No, I hate when people say it's his fault, because Izzy's the champion. Like, there's no reason why he should be pressing the action against the guy who's trying to get the belt from him.
Yeah, and part of me is like, if people are going to turn on Izzy just because they think he's boring or something like that, that actually makes me like Izzy more as my favorite fighter in the division.
Like, it's a dumb reason. Like, how is it his fault that the challengers are afraid to take a risk?
Exactly.
Like, why should he risk his belt that he has? Like, that makes no sense. Like, the whole point of, like, I don't even... you know, I think about the Kelvin Gastelum fight and like how he just went at him. Like that's the way you have to fight him. Like you can't like, and I get that that's tough because you're risking
People
getting dropped.
I don't
like,
think people really take into account like just because of the frame and all of that, the reach advantage that he pretty much brings into every fight, like how he can keep opponents like away from him, and like to where he doesn't really get touched, and then he can keep it exactly. He freezes them, and then that opens a spot for Izzy to set up a combination or even the finish or something like that. So it's dude's an absolute technician. It's awesome to watch. And
now let me take this into like the title fight conversation, because I was like, one of the things that you said was interesting to me, because especially as a big Izzy fan that I know you are, like saying that Izzy, like his best might be like in the past. Now I see this title fight that got booked and I say this might be the one. If it's not this one, then I agree with you, because if there's anybody who I think will push him, it's gonna be Pereira. And I think that's because he's the only person who can come in with confidence that I can knock this guy out.
I love that, because Alex Pereira is certainly going to bring the best. Especially I think this gets way over like blown and all that, and like I get it in a way, especially now that they're fighting in the UFC. But the whole what was it that Alex Pereira knocked Izzy out in? What kind of
It was kickboxing.
Kickboxing, yeah. Like I think that definitely gets overblown and whatnot, but
well, the thing is, like the first, I think they had, I think he got knocked out in the second fight. The first fight was really close, and Pereira won, I think, by like a split decision. And then the second fight, Izzy was piecing him up and dominating him, and he got caught. So yes, he got knocked out, but he also wasn't getting his ass whooped in either fight. So, like, it's a lot close, like, because, all the people who hate Izzy, they love to say, oh, he's going to get knocked out because he got knocked out already. Like, they're going to have to bring out the oxygen this time like they did. Because that was a crazy shot, by the way. If you guys don't know, when Izzy got knocked out by Pereira in kickboxing, they brought out the oxygen mask. It was not a good look. But, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting fight between him and Pereira.
Once press and all that starts for this fight, like, probably not until oblivion, but he's going to be asked about it, or he's not going to be able to get around like that fight in particular.
Hey,
like he's going to be asked about it.
Brought it up to him, like, and he gets mad, like he doesn't like to hear it.
Well, there you go, and that's what I think. The way he handles that, and like whether it's like no, I'm a completely different fighter, then like it's gonna be a whole nother situation result this time, or if it's like because he's so much of a grown and different fighter, and obviously the champion of the division now, like is it like that's just in the past, and like this is a new fighter in Alex Pereira that I'm fighting, this is a new fighter that he's fighting, like we're gonna see what happens. It's the first time we've obviously fought in this promotion, UFC, like for these stakes. Because Pereira has that, like it could be pretty easy to get into Izzy's head. And
I don't know.
It's gonna be a mental game. I think it's gonna be a mental game for Izzy.
I definitely see what you're saying. I just think that Izzy is very like mentally strong.
He definitely is. Yeah.
I think him arguing with Strickland and stuff, and like getting mad at the press conferences, I feel like it's almost more for promotion at this point, because he knows that if you beat Cannonier, that's probably who's going to fight next, the winner of that fight. So might as well start it now. But yeah, I mean, I think he's very mentally strong as a champion. All those guys from City Kickboxing are. I mean, you see it with Volkanovski especially, who we'll get into later. But I mean, with Izzy, it's just like you said, like it's a matter of is he gonna have to fight? Like really, that's what it is. Like, is he gonna have to take some risks? Is Alex Pereira gonna push the pace enough where Izzy's gonna have to actually?
I think Pereira will. I think Pereira's gonna do it early too. In which case, obviously Izzy knows as champion, 5 rounds. You gotta be ready. You gotta be good to go for all 5 rounds. So, I think Pereira is gonna handle it in a pretty different situation than Izzy is, and it's just gonna all come down to like just whose approach who has the better approach to the fight. And
it's a great one. I can't wait for that.
And for the dark horse pick, like you just said too, which I mean, if I guess no secret now, like I think Jared Cannonier beats Sean Strickland.
Yeah. It's funny how many of our picks have overlapped because my favorite fighter is Jared Cannonier in the middleweight division. I love Cannonier, man. He's such a real dude. Like I respect that. Like he's not trying to put on a show. He's very like he's legit like in his beliefs, and I just
Jared
respect
too,
that a lot.
Man. That's why like Izzy does not want to see him again if he's still the champion by the time.
Yeah, I don't know if Cannonier's a guy you could beat twice.
Exactly.
That's tough. I feel like he's another one who's very mentally on his game, especially like nowadays. But yeah, I mean the middleweight division. That's another division that's just really getting better and better, and like there's even a lot of prospects in it. And the one that I picked is one who's technically in the UFC, probably going to end up being in it, is Bo Nickel. And the reason why I think this is because I say to myself, take away all the other martial arts right now. Can Bo Nickel take Israel Adesanya down? Yes. Yes. I don't care what anybody says. If he doesn't get hit on his way in, he can take the champion down today. I think that. Because I just think his wrestling is that good. But that's just why he's my favorite prospect. Just because of the thought of that.
And then by the time Bo Nickel does get into UFC and all that, and he's fighting these middleweights, I don't think it's going to be that long either before we see him in that top like echelon of the division. Because I think, and this is me being generous to Darren Till, quite frankly, but past Darren Till, like it's a pretty top heavy division probably the most top heavy division in all of UFC.
I'm looking at the top 15. I see Chris Curtis. That might be tough because he's a tough guy, a good fighter. Brad Tavares. I don't know. Like these guys are probably like they might be better than him on the. It's tough because he's not like really proven yet. Like the guy's literally 2-0.
I think like the top. I think Pat Moore. It's more honestly past Hermanson that I think the division is kind of like just that part of the division is like anybody can beat anybody there, but once you get into that top 6, it's like now you're really talking about like guys that you gotta have the style to beat to be able to beat. I just see
a lot of guys that he could take down, and it's like if he doesn't get hit and if he's any bit decent on the feet, which I think he is because he trains at ATT, his training partners aren't bums. It's guys like Masvidal, Poirier, and I'm pretty sure. I've seen him train with somebody else. I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll see it somewhere, though. But he's just, I think he has all the tools to become, a UFC champion at some point. If not, already just with his wrestling, to compete. So, and especially when you have a striker right now as the champion. And even, you look at, the top guys, like Whitaker, Cannonier, Bajeda, Costa, Strickland. All those guys are strikers. Mm-hmm. So, you put a wrestler as good as Bo Nickel in there, it really just messes up the whole fray. But who would be your pick for middleweight prospect?
Middleweight prospect, this dude we actually haven't seen in a little while, coming off a loss too, but he's going to be back this very next card. Okay. Oh, that is, I think you know who I'm talking about. Nasruddin Imavov, we've covered a little bit on the show.
Yes.
I think he's gonna have a real second win to him on this next run. Because it's been
fighting? I didn't even realize.
He is on. I know he's on a card, but
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, no, it's slipping my mind who he's fighting, but
here I'll look it up.
He is on the UFC Paris card, and it's coming to mind now. I don't. Joaquin Buckley.
Oh, he's gonna do.
Joaquin Buckley.
He's gonna play with Joaquin Buckley in there. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
I really think just this time around, UFC brass is gonna I think they're really gonna be honing into him and see how he wins this fight, how he wins these fights, what he does with his opponents and all that, and then I think they're just gonna continue to just give him just really good stylistic fights that he can just put on a show for, because I think they see him too as one of these top prospects coming up and whatnot, especially taking, it's almost been a year since his last fight.
That's wild. I remember he got booked against Gastelum that one time. I was really looking forward to that.
Man, damn, you reminded me. I wanted to see that fight. No, I really like this guy, dude, and once again, we've talked about him a little bit on the show before, but he's coming back this next card, and I think he's going to put on a show. And then beyond that, I think he's just going to continue to climb.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to light up Joaquin Buckley, to be quite honest. So I agree with that. But moving on to the biggest division right now, obviously because of the last pay-per-view, but the welterweight division. Champion is new, Leon Edwards. And, I mean, where do you even start? I mean, I think the next title fight is probably pretty clear.
Seriously, where do you even start with this division? And when we get into bantamweight, like now we're really getting into these divisions. Like there's just so many just top tier names that it's like it's hard to come up with just one.
Because if it's not Edwards Usman, for the sole fact that Usman might not be ready in time, which I really don't think is going to happen, because I think they're pretty.
It's just so crazy to think how like we're 2 minutes away in that Leon Edwards and Usman fight from like this conversation right here being a completely different conversation.
That's very true. Yeah. And like I think that Usman's definitely going to be the next fight. I think he'll be ready in time. I mean, they're booked pretty much till December or January at this point. So if February is the earliest, like I think that they'll probably be able to get him in there. I don't feel like they're going to give Colby the shot in the meantime, although you could technically argue it because he has a win over another contender. Hamza obviously is there. He's fighting Nate Diaz. You know, you were right about having a different conversation because, I mean, if Kamaru won, we were talking about Hamzat getting the title shot, but now Hamzat's in a very weird position. And actually, that just reminds me, I didn't even say my dark horse for the middleweight division, which is Hamzat Himaev. Because if you remember, in the beginning of his career, he was fighting in the UFC. He was fighting some fights at middleweight. And my feeling about it is if he's going to have to wait a really long time to get a title shot at welterweight, if Izzy can beat Pereira at middleweight, Hamzat might be the next guy, like, genuinely. Because after that, you know, Whitaker he's beaten twice. Cannonier he's beaten. Vittori he's beaten twice. Brunson he's beaten badly. Pereira he's fighting. Costa beat badly. And then Strickland is all the way at number 7. So, like, I think that Hamzat could literally be, slid in there just if he beats Nate Diaz. And I'm not sure if that'll happen, but that's why I think he's the dark horse, personally.
Nice.
But, yeah, I mean, back to the welterweights, though. I mean, I feel like we don't even have to talk about the next title fight that much just because I feel like it's kind of obvious what it is. But I guess who would be your favorite welterweight fighter? I feel like there's a lot to choose from.
So I didn't switch, and I feel like with this division especially, it's really easy to switch up on who like my favorite fighter could be. But this guy, I haven't switched up on him. He has been for a little while now. And it sucks because right now he's like pretty lost in the shuffle, despite still being in the top of the division rankings. But he's so lost in the shuffle now because of his past 2 fights. That's Gilbert Burns, who I'm talking about. Just obviously the Hamzat loss, the Wonder Boy loss. You know, it's a really weird spot for Gilbert to be in. I think Leon winning was huge for guys like him to get that second win and like get back to that, you know, obviously not having to face Usman again, but you know.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, as in a title
that third
fight.
fight is gonna happen. Like, so if Usman beats Edwards in the third one, then
and that's
basically reverses everything. But
that's the really and that's why like as a dark horse pick, like I wasn't gonna go with him as a dark horse pick, but you know, that's the really unfortunate thing because, you know, Gilbert is just, he's not beating Usman the same way Leon Edwards just did. So it's just all about just being able to just, if this, like, it would be an absolute ground masterclass, I think, in the next fight between them. That's just one that Gilbert would have to win, just on the ground, which way, shape, or form. I don't think he can let Usman get any sort of, you know, side control, full mount, anything like that on him, because he would, you know, Usman would probably just suffocate him for the entire round. So Gilbert is still my guy. I still want to see him back in that title pictures, that title scene soon. You know, guy who's just complete. I think already was not lost in the shuffle before, but one of these guys that, you know, obviously, you know, not being from here, not speaking English, like
well, and like coming off a loss too, it kind of makes it a little tougher just because
one of these
so
guys
many guys coming off wins.
People don't, you know, give, not to say he doesn't get the credit he deserves, but definitely someone that I think any given day, like, he gets that opportunity again, could become welterweight champ. So
that I agree with.
I would love to see him get back there.
Yeah, his jiu-jitsu is some of the best in the sport. So
tell me about it.
I think that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, I agree with you. It's kind of like what I was saying, like with Paul Craig. Like, anybody with a ground game that's that good, like, they definitely they definitely have a good
That's what
shot
I'm
at winning
saying.
any given night.
Another fight between him and Usman, I just think would be absolute like just ground masterclass, and whoever wins it.
I don't. I think Usman beats his ass personally.
All right, fair.
I mean, I don't.
I think as long as Gilbert can hold his own, he's got a real shot.
I truly think that Usman right now is in a very interesting point in his career, and I think that if he beats Edwards in the third fight, he's not losing to anybody. I think he retires as champion if he beats Edwards again. So that's just me. I think very highly of Usman, as much as I like to give him shit for wanting to box Canelo, which thankfully no one is clamoring for anymore. I saw a good meme. It was
my dark horse pick though. I would any of these top guys like.
There's a few.
I would like any of these top guys, man. I would love to see how he fares against. But
you're saying like Gilbert or Usman?
No, I was talking about my dark horse pick. Who's not quite there yet, but this next fight is gonna be huge for him.
I feel like we may be on the same page. Mine is the winner of Bilal versus Sean Brady.
There you go. Yeah,
so
I actually went with.
You're probably picking someone.
Yeah, I went with Sean Brady outright. I think he beats Bilal Muhammad. I
think he does too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give Bilal because I do think Bilal is one of the most underrated fighters in the division.
Oh yeah, for Bilal to just completely completely himself and because nobody saw this dude.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to give him the credit.
In this division, man, nobody saw this coming with Bilal Muhammad. And then you obviously say what you will, point fighter, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. Exactly. Yeah. The number next to his name is the number next to his name. So
that's a number 5 at the moment.
It's a guy you gotta exactly. I'm really excited for this next fight. I think it's be 5 rounds of just straight
I think it's 3.
Oh, it's 3.
It's on the pay-per-view.
Okay, I thought it was gonna be a fight night.
Yeah, no, this one's on the Oliveira Islam card.
Cool.
So yeah, that pay-per-view's insane.
I think if Sean Brady just he can get Bilal backed up against the cage, moving laterally and all that, control the center. I think he'll be able to have his way with him. I really think Bilal Bilal needs to control the pace of this fight in order to.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think Sean Brady, the big thing for me of why I would pick him. I think the strength is the difference here. I think Sean Brady is one. That's
another thing why I really feel good about this dark horse pick is you need that in this top tier of welterweight. With guys like Usman, obviously Gilbert Burns, these absolute monsters.
Yeah,
so
that's why he's competitive. That's why he's my dark horse. To be honest, it's just like we were saying, a guy who could beat the champion on any given night, really, because they have a shot, but people aren't really talking about him yet. And Sean Brady is definitely one of those people. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's fresh off that win, I think, over Chiesa, which is a great win. And wow, welterweight division, man. I'm just reading the rankings. It's just crazy. I mean, this isn't anything to do with a sleeper or anything, but I just see his name and it made me think of this fight. The fact that now there's new blood being injected into the welterweight division, we're going to be getting number 14 ranked Li Jingliang versus Tony Ferguson in less than a month. Which is that was one of those bombshells that Dana just dropped after the pay-per-view, and everybody's like, oh, okay,
right.
That's cool. I'm here for it. I think that's a tough fight for Tony. I think it's a tough fight for Lee though too, because Tony's one of those guys who just doesn't go away. And that shot that he got knocked out with by Chandler, that would knock down anybody. So it's I don't hold that as much against him. And he looked a lot better in that fight than he did in his last few. But I just wanted to mention that real quick. But another name that I'm seeing is my prospect, which welterweight's the same as a lot of these other stacked divisions. There's so many people you could choose from. But the one that I picked is Shavkat Rakhmonov, because just beat Neil Magny, number 11 now. He's another one I think that could definitely already be in that top 5, if not, fighting for the belt. And I just think it's a matter of time at this point. So that's why he's my favorite prospect in the division. But I guess who would you pick?
Over prospect? This is a guy who's not ranked yet, but I think more and more with each fight, more and more people. I think already now, he's already pretty highly touted as a prospect. But Jack Della Maddalena himself.
Oh yeah, wow!
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
We've talked about a little bit too on this show. So excited, man! So much power in those hands, and just
Yeah, I like him a lot.
yeah, no, really do think he has a shot to hang around with not any of these top 15 guys, but you know, 10 through 15, something like that. Like his next fight with the next a ranked opponent, like definitely gonna be something to watch.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him get in that top 15. Like, the names that are at the bottom part of it are Michel Pereira. That'd be an interesting fight, but I think he's looking upwards too. So I don't know. Obviously Li Jingliang's already booked. I mean, there's Neil Magny, but I don't know if Neil Magny takes that fight after this. I mean, there's Chiesa, who I don't think would take it, and then there's Shavkat. Maybe Vicente Luque. That'd be a really good fight. Luque versus Della Maddalena. I would be interested in that. Masvidal never takes that fight, so I think that's where we stop. Because, I mean, Masvidal's number 9 anyway, so I feel like pushing him that far is kind of bad anyway. But, yeah, no, I like that pick a lot. I didn't even think of him, to be honest. I didn't even think I didn't forget he was a welterweight.
No, yeah.
But, yeah, no, that's a good pick, honestly. But on to the lightweight division. I mean, right now there's technically no champ, but to me, the champion has a name, and his name is Charles Oliveira. So, and he's my favorite fighter in the division. Him and RDA are tied. RDA, like, Charles Oliveira, obviously, you know, as I've said, like, I've been big on him since, like, way before he became champ at lightweight, and it was, like, at the very beginning of his winning streak. It just, something clicked for me in my head that this guy was going to become champion someday, and he had all the skills. It's just a matter of getting his chance, and obviously now he's, you know, he's not the champion, but he is, in my opinion. I mean, come on. Like, what are we doing? He missed weight by, like... I get... All right, well, let me say this. The champion's job is to make weight. I get that. So, like, I get why he's not champion. I'm not making an excuse for that. But if you're going to ask me who is deserving of being the champion, who right now is the best fighter in that division, it's Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
And if it's not Charles Oliveira, it's the guy that he's fighting in Islam. So, that's a... You know, we haven't really talked that much... Actually, we talked about it like once. I still kind of feel how I like initially felt about it. I think that Oliveira is one of those guys who could submit really anybody, but I think that Islam's wrestling is, and his strength in particular, just the strength, because I hear a lot of people who fought Islam, they don't really talk about the technique. They talk about the fact that, like, when he's on top of you, he makes it impossible to move. And, like, I don't think that Charles Oliveira is stronger than Islam Makhachev, and that's what makes me believe that he might have a hard time with him, even on the ground, because I think that Islam could advance position or honestly just hold him, like, down enough, like, to... And I think he's capable of getting out of submissions, too. I mean, he's training with Habib. Like, you know, there's not many better training partners for a guy like Oliveira, you know what I'm saying? Like, because another guy who's great on the ground, I mean, hey, look at Habib's resume, I mean, in case y'all forgot. But, yeah, I mean, that title fight is insane. I think that card right now on paper is going to be, like, one of the best cards of the year, because that title fight is just insane, man. Like, I every day, like, I have a different viewpoint of it, but I still, right now, I'm sticking with Islam, which is crazy considering that I'm such a huge Oliveira fan. But one of my other favorite fighters in that division is RDA, though, because only, like, one, because he's a badass. I mean, if you read that guy's fucking resume, it's insane, off the charts. He's fought killers from beginning to end, and just the fact that I met him though too. He was such a cool dude. Yeah, like really. I won't forget that. So because of that, I always have like a special like spot for RDA.
Dude, he's awesome. He just loves to fight. It's that simple. Like at this point, he's not even looking for titles. He just wants to fight guys that would just make a good fight.
And I'm here for that. Awesome. Like he deserves it. He's earned that right to be getting these like legend fights. You know, so I'm with it. You know, I agree with that. But at one point, he would have been my dark horse for the lightweight division, just because like he was always a guy who I felt like could compete for the title. But now, obviously, he's fresh off a loss, so it's not really him for me anymore. But you know, there's guys like Fiziev who obviously just beat him. There's Gamrot, and now I found like it's just really hard for me to pick a dark horse for that division. Like, one part of me wanted to say Dariush. It's hard for me, too. But I was like, I think people are giving him the credit. I have, like, a short-term dark horse and a long-term dark horse for this division. For short-term, and I'm, you know, might as well bring it out, too, because he's my favorite prospect as well, and Mateusz Gamrot. Yeah.
obviously coming off this rookie win and all that, like, you know,
Yeah.
that was a huge win right there in of itself. Like, he just has a really nice upward trajectory going for him. It was not gonna be easy, but
No, it's
you know,
I mean,
like
it's all. I mean,
I think at
crazy.
least these top lightweights, like, they're definitely taking notice by now. So
It's nuts that he's only at number 9. Like, that's why I kind of I wrote down 4 people for mine. I didn't have like any long term, short term, but I couldn't decide just one. But he was one of them just because he's still so low in the rankings, and I think that he's already as good as the top guys. But I mean, besides him, I think you got. The thing is, like, I don't want to say that like he's my dark horse because I think that he's gonna win. I say it because he doesn't deserve a title shot, but you can never say that he won't get one, and that's Conor McGregor. And because, like, and you know, while I would say that Islam or Charles Oliveira would mop the floor with him, he's, you know, people overhate in the sense that, like, saying that he doesn't have any chance. I mean, like, he's got, like, a puncher's chance at the very least. You know what I mean? He's got power in his hands. That's not saying that I think he wins.
yeah, and it's like it's the same.
You can't say that he's not ever, like, he's always in the title picture, whether you like it or not, and that's why I pick him as a dark horse. But continue. Sorry, I count.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same people too. Like, and I mean, rightfully so with Conor. Like, yeah, this is the greatest fighter to happen since this guy or whatever. Like, you know, this is like just a generational like GOAT right here in Conor McGregor. Or say one's like, you know, Conor's just he's trash or something like that. Like, you know, he can't beat any of these top guys. And it's like maybe true, but you can't say like he doesn't, like, he shouldn't be fighting these guys or anything. Like, I think the main thing with Conor is like just when he comes back, it's like what division is he going to be at this point? You know, it just seems like he's talking about, oh, I want to go to welterweight, or hey, maybe I should get that featherweight belt back, or
he ain't
like,
going featherweight. I'll end that one right now. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Conor McGregor when he's like cutting weight to get to featherweight. He's not going back there.
Hell no. So
he's like, the thing is though, like, I kind of like, I might be low key taking him off my list just because I think he's like out of it right now, bro. Like, he posted some video. He was on like a boat and he was just getting head from his wife. Like, he just posted that. Like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, that's not a flex. Like, that's just weird. Like, it's not like it's a lot of roads down there, man. Like, it's your wife. Like, that's the mother of your children. Like, it's very, yeah. I'm just gonna, because of that, I don't, like, because my viewpoint is, like, in order to post that, you gotta be on something. Whether it's you're drunk, high, like, there's no way a sober human being is posting that. And the fact that he's not sober makes me realize that he's probably not going to win any title fights anytime soon. And he's probably not going to beat Mike Chandler whenever they get matched up, because that's probably going to be the next fight, if we're being real.
Yeah, I'm really not. I mean, because I just said what I said, but it's like, that's if Conor McGregor, like, ever even comes back to fighting, you know?
This guy's just fresh off the booger sugar, getting
exactly,
head on a boat like a
because
nut.
clearly, if he comes back and is booked for a fight, that means that means like he's ready to do so. But I would hope it means he's ready to do so. His definition of ready
versus everybody else's is kind of like ridiculous, because like his whole point is like, yeah, you know, nobody with as much money as me would train as hard as I do. But I'm like, yeah, but these guys don't have as much money as you, so they are training harder. Like, you don't understand. Like, these guys aren't like literally snorting blow and like posting weird shit from their butt. Like,
it's a terrible look.
And we've always made jokes about the other videos that he would post and shit. Remember that one where he was just in a bathroom and he was just screaming like a nut? Dude. Like, he's like, that's not something a normal human being.
I see Conor McGregor's name and it just doesn't move me anymore. Like, it's just
it moves me, but it doesn't move, like, I don't see it in the sense that like Conor McGregor is a title challenger who can legitimately win the belt at any division, because I don't ever see that happening.
No, that's over.
Whether it be 170 or 155, like, I think that part of his career is over. But I do think that there's some top guys that he could still beat. Like, I think the Chandler fight is fun because Chandler's not going to wrestle him. He's going to fight him. Like, everybody wants to see Conor McGregor fight. He's going to be a war on the feet. And, you know, when it's a fight on the feet, Conor McGregor really has a chance against anybody. So that's a fight that I want to see personally. But my last dark horse pick is Alexander Volkanovski. because I think that he could very well be fighting the winner of the title fight coming up. Honestly, I think he does fight the winner of this next fight. So that's why I consider him as my dark horse, because you obviously don't hear his name because he's not in the division. You hear it a little bit when he fights, but that's about it. So I think that he's another guy who's a dark horse. If anything, I think he's my biggest dark horse because he could definitely beat either of the champions nowadays. That's a whole, I love Volkanovski. I'm a huge fan of his, and I think obviously now everybody's coming on the bandwagon. He's number one pound for pound. Me and you have been saying this since I don't even know when. Probably since before we started this pod. At least I have. I've
it was
since Ortega.
Yeah, it was definitely more you, man. I'm not gonna sit here and lie about it. I thought I was still pretty adamant about Usman still being number one. But when you were still saying Volk is he's that guy, and then obviously coming off the last title win is just being Max again. It's at this point you can't deny it. And then obviously Usman's not even the champion anymore. So that number one is well into Volk's hands. So
I think he's definitely pound for pound number one. We'll get to him. Right now we got some lightweights to talk about still, and lightweight I think has the most abundance of prospects. Because I feel like there's constantly just a guy debuting on a card who's a lightweight. Just because I think 155 is, and obviously most of them are cutting weight, but I feel like that's the average human being. So I feel like that's why there's just so many of them. But my favorite prospects, I had a couple of them. I said Paddy Pimblett was one, obviously, because how can you not pick him?
No, of course.
Arman Saryukian, even though he's coming off a loss, it was to Gemrot. So that's it's no slouch. And my last one was the Tarantula, Jalen Turner. I like him a lot. I feel like he can definitely make
that's
some noise.
actually who my long-term dark horse was.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's an interesting one.
I think
yeah, I can see it.
I think they're gonna not push him in the sense fast track him or something like that, but push him in the sense he's gonna get dudes to fight.
Yeah.
So
and
it's gonna
keep
be
winning, and he's already
exactly.
number 14, by the way. He's ranked. You can't even say that about him.
If he just keeps winning, he's just next thing you know, you blink and Jalen Turner's in a title fight. So that's why I feel he's still got a ways to go. But
I would say I'd love to see him versus Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker's fighting Claudio Puelas, which is another insane fight at that weight class. Lightweight is popping right now, honestly. I can't wait to see what happens in the next few months. But I guess, I can't really pick a favorite out of those guys that I mentioned. They're just all equally as cool. So, but I guess we can move, because we kind of talked about this a little bit, obviously, anyway, with Alex Volkanovski. But the featherweight division, obviously Alex is the champ. Right now, it seems like it's either he's going to fight Josh Emmett in the meantime, or he's going to go up to 55, and maybe there will be an interim title fight between Yair and Josh Emmett. But Yair doesn't seem to want to take that fight. But who knows? Maybe if the UFC throws enough dollars in his face, he'll be okay, I'll take it. And, I don't know. It's another division that's in a weird spot just because the champion is obviously number one pound for pound. He's dominant. You beat Max Holloway 3 times. Brian Ortega, he just dominated besides those, 2 submission attempts. Calvin Kattar's just not close enough yet. And, like I said, besides that, it's Yair and Josh Emmett. And I don't know who's beating Volkanovski, man, in that division. I just don't see it right now. I don't see a guy who's coming in there and beating him.
Nobody doing it right now, dude. It's really that simple.
I'll say this. My dark horse, and it's not because I think he can win, I just think it's because he presents a different problem than all the other guys that Volk has fought. I think my dark horse is Bryce Mitchell, just because he's the highest ranked good grappler in that division. And I think that Volk hasn't really fought a guy yet in his title reign that's trying to take him down. Because Ortega, he's got good jiu-jitsu, but he's not really trying to take you down constantly. Bryce Mitchell's definitely going to be trying to take him to the ground, and he's going to be pushing the pace and making it relentless. And I would like to see how Volkanovski deals with a fighter like that. I still think he wins because I think he's just so fucking good everywhere. But Bryce Mitchell is an interesting test for him. And him and Movsar Evloev is another one who I had in my mind. I picked him as my prospect. That's the only reason why I didn't put him as my dark horse, to be honest.
My dark horse.
Yeah, and I agree. That's fair. If he wasn't my prospect, he would be my dark horse. So I think
the move to featherweight for him is I think he's really found his division here.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Who would be your prospect then, though, if it's not Evloev?
So this one is, he's not even. This is one of these where, not even really one of these, because I think he's the only guy that's actually not even in UFC. But we know who he is. We very well know who he is. Any all like true MMA fans, they know who he is. Like people that actually pay attention to other This is obviously the B promotion, if you will, to UFC. But man, I would love one day if he can make his way over to UFC. I really do think like he can hang just as much as he does in Bellator.
I don't know if you realize this, but you have not said his name. I know exactly what you're talking about, but
you
have not said the guy's name.
It's AJ McKee. It's AJ McKee.
See, for me, I'd put him as a dark horse if I had to choose, just because I feel like he's so like. He's young though, so I guess you could say he's a prospect though. I guess that's fair. I feel like I only think of him as established just because of who he's fought. That's probably what it is.
That's fair, yeah.
Because when you're fighting Pitbull.
But for me, it's more just like, can you do it here if like you choose to, or like one day like if you find yourself in the UFC, like can he make a run there?
I think he has a rough run, to be honest.
I would want to see it. I want to see it.
I agree with that, but I don't think it goes well.
That's fair.
I don't think he's well-rounded enough to hang with guys like Holloway, Ortega, even Josh Emmett, like Arnold Allen. The Korean Zombie, that's number 7 we're getting to. Like, I think that's maybe, but it's tough.
Yeah.
From there, like that's, and that's the thing, though. Does AJ McKee want to come to the UFC to compete in the top 6? Like, or does he want to become the champion? And, he's always going to bet on himself, so I think we'll eventually see him here because I think that he wants to be in the UFC. So I think it'll happen at some point, but right now I don't see it going that well for him.
The longer it takes, the worse it gets.
See, I don't know about that. I think the opposite there. I think he could get better and better. Because I think his striking is what's really just kind of garbage, really, compared to some of these top UFC featherweights like Holloway and Yair.
Yeah.
Like, I think that he does not get those fights to the ground, and because of that, I think he gets his ass whooped on the feet. Just like, kind of like, because, Pitbull, if he can do it, like, these guys like Holloway and Volkanovski can do it. Like, I don't even think that that's a question. So, yeah, I do like him, though. I want to see him in the UFC, and I think he's earned the right to prove himself against those types of guys.
Yeah.
But I think I kind of mentioned who my favorite fighter is, but it's Volkanovski.
Yeah.
He's the man. Like, how could you not like him? But who would be yours be?
Mine, so this is funny because this is essentially a fight between my two favorite fighters in the division, and like pretty much whoever won it, like it was like the easy favorite for me. Between Calvin Kattar and Giga Chikadze, and Calvin Kattar obviously won that fight. I'm a huge Kattar fan. This last fight just even reassured me more as to why I am. Just even the Max Holloway fight, but obviously he didn't win that fight, and Max was just put on an absolute masterclass. But man, Calvin Kattar, this guy, like you said, he's still a little bit away from getting that title shot, because should you like put him into it now or whatever, something like that, it's not going to go well. But
and he's at like number 5. Like, I feel like it's tough because like you could argue that Yair Emmett should get it first. I
love a good brawler, man. I love a good brawler. Calvin Kattar just dude that brings it every single time. He's gonna wear you out, and you're really just gonna have to bring just every bit of yourself into a fight with Calvin Kattar. So I think just in that sense, like the fact that he's just gonna bring the best out of everybody is just sick about him. But he's so like, I love it, man. The brawler mentality for him, just the power in those hands, like how he can drop people, it's awesome. So I'm a huge Calvin Kattar guy.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. He's just like, he's got that fighting spirit, like you said. He's got heart, he's got toughness, and his boxing is damn good. Honestly, he's really well rounded at this point. Like, he doesn't really get enough credit for like how good his leg kicks are, and he does have like a good like top control game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I think that the thing is though, like I know he's not like your pick for like the dark horse or anything like that, but I'm just like saying it just to talk about him. I think he's a little far away from a title shot just because of the loss to Josh Emmett.
Yeah.
Because now, like, Emmett is obviously the one who I think Emmett has earned the right. Because I don't think Yair, like, somehow injuring Brian Ortega's shoulder.
There was I would definitely wasn't, especially after that, I wasn't going to go with Cater as a dark horse pick. But
I would have respected it, though, if you did. Because, like,
it's fair, yeah,
he's definitely still in the conversation. It's just that, like,
I think
not now.
I think, I wanted to go with a little more, like, I guess, daring dark horse pick. But, I still love Calvin Cater. He's awesome, so I would love to see him get that chance one day.
All right. Well, I guess we'll keep it moving with the bantamweights. Obviously, the champ is Aljamain Sterling after beating Petr Yan a second time. And next title fight is on the same card as... UFC 280. Islam versus Oliveira, and that's also going to be Aljo versus TJ Dillashaw, that's the right fight. I think that's the fight that needed to be made. I mean, TJ was off the win against Corey. He earned that title shot, in my opinion, even though he hasn't fought in a while before that, and because obviously he cheated too. But, he won a fight against a top contender. You can't take that away from him. So I like that matchup. Personally, I think TJ is very much taking it too lightly. I don't know if he's just talking shit, but it seems like he genuinely does not think Aljo has a chance anyway. Like, he says his striking is garbage. That's not true. He says his grappling isn't as good as his. That's very much not true. I just think that, I don't know, I think Aljamain Sterling is going to get a statement win in this fight because I don't think TJ is taking him as much of a risk as he actually is. Like, Aljamain Sterling is one of the best fighters in that division. Like, people hate him because of the way that the Petr Yan fights have gone, because the first one went the way it did with the knee, and then the second one was so close, a lot of people thought he lost. But I thought he won, like I said. But he's such a great grappler. The chaotic, like, he's not a great technical striker. Like, TJ is right about that. But the chaotic nature of it is what makes it, like, so effective. Like, I think that TJ's footwork might help him evade a lot of the shots, but I think once Aljo gets his hands on TJ is in for a long night. Because Aljo, once he gets on your back, man, like, he's the human backpack. I mean, he's got some crazy submissions from the back, or from back control. I mean, I remember the one versus Cody Stamann, he had this, like, Sulyov stretch. That was nuts. And then you think of what he did to Corey Sandhagen, too. And even Petr Yan, like, took him down and took his back. So, like, I don't know. I don't think TJ's going to do as well as he thinks he's going to do in this fight. I think he's kind of taking it a little bit too cocky. But what do you think about that fight?
I think the same thing, honestly. And I feel like the public eye was probably going to side with TJ more.
Which means it might be a good bet to bet on Aljo when the time comes.
Well, I feel like, the people that genuinely know what they're talking about they're gonna side with Aljo, but
I don't know, man. There's a lot of people who like TJ. I mean, like, it's not. I get why people would pick TJ. I mean, he's very, like, well-rounded, but for me, it's the mental thing, because I truly believe that he's not taking Aljo seriously. Like, I think he thinks he's gonna walk right through him, and when Aljo's on his back, I think he might be thinking a little differently, and then he's gonna regret not taking him as seriously. But I can't say I don't, like, understand why they would pick TJ, because he's been, like, a proven great fighter. But I get what you're saying, though. I mean, I guess from there's so many, like, as you know, Bantamweight is my favorite division in the UFC, so, I mean, like, I don't even know where I want to go from here. There's prospects, there's the dark horse that you could talk about.
Yeah, there's everything.
I mean, I guess I'll let you pick. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think we should talk about dark horses first.
Sure.
Because mine is, someone I think, someone who I feel like has been a dark horse, like, his entire career, and, like, who you think could make a good fight with anybody. That's Ricky Simone.
Yeah, that's an interesting fight.
Yeah, man. Because I agree with you. Every time you say, like, on a show, like, if someone, a good fight would make a good fight with Ricky Simone, like, I'm just like, it just really just opens up my eyes and, like, yeah, no, I really would. Like, I would want to see that. And it's just weird with Ricky Simone. I just feel like he's just had a weird career where he's, like,
they just don't give him, like,
exactly.
The big names.
He doesn't get those big names, but like,
it's because of his style. I mean, like, they just don't want to see a guy take someone down and hold him.
He's
but
capable.
He's been in some wars, though. That's why I don't understand. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen his fight with Rob Font, but that's a classic bantamweight fight. And, like, you know, Rob Font, they market pretty well. Like, I would think that they'd want to market Ricky Simone better. I mean, like, he did so well against Jack Shore, who me and you were really high on. And, like, I think for me, that honestly makes me agree with you, like, with how he should be a dark horse in the division. The guys that I picked, though, one of them is ranked above him, one of them is ranked below. One of them I actually talked about, too, was Corey Sandhagen, just because he's been so close so many times. Like, against TJ, barely lost. Against Petr Yan, barely lost. And he lost, the only bad loss he really had was to the champion. So it's like, and now he's fighting Song Yadong, and I think that's going to be able to really thrust him right back into the title conversation if he can get the win there, which is not a guarantee, because Song Yadong, he's got crazy fast hands, and he's got crazy power behind it. So if Corey gets caught, it might be a short night, but personally, I think Corey wins the fight as of right now. Like, I'm definitely gonna watch some tape before it, but
Corey's my favorite fighter, so I mean,
mine
there's
too.
that. Yeah.
Well, him and Sean O'Malley, obviously. I'm a big Sean O'Malley fan, and Dominic Cruz right up there too. Huge Cruz fan. I mean, anybody who can get through the adversity that Dominic Cruz has to get back to the top of the division as many times.
Corey's another guy with just all the tools. It's just if he can put it to get all together, you know, for the entire run of entire fight, like
I think it's a fight IQ thing, personally, because
it has to be.
He's got all the tools, but like you look at the fights versus TJ and Petr Yan, you can't be spinning like that against these top guys. Like, I get that, like, he landed against Moraes, and that was one of the best knockouts I've seen at that weight class, but like these guys are going to grab him and take him down every time. And I get that he's putting up submissions. He tore TJ's knee up with that one leg lock. And then Petr Yan, like, obviously he was attempting submissions the whole time. But, like, this is how you lose on the scorecards. Like, you got to, like, keep that in mind, I think. You can't just be going constantly for the finish, because then, like, you know, you spin and then someone holds you up against the cage for 3 minutes. They win that round. Like, and, you know, it's unfortunate because I thought he should have won the TJ Dillashaw fight based off damage, like, because we've had this conversation 1,000 times. Like, that's my fight that I always use as, like, a basis of it, because TJ Dillashaw had crazy control time, but if you look at TJ's face, I think Corey won the fight. So I agree. I think he's a good dark horse, and like he's one of my favorite fighters, because he's just a savage. Like, you know, he's always talking about, like, the art of war and all that stuff. Like, he reads a lot of those warrior books, and I think that's like changed his mentality for the better. And yeah, I like him a lot. I like that he's your favorite fighter. Honestly, I didn't even really know that. But
he has been for a little, like, ever since 2020.
That's fair. Yeah. That's kind of when I kind of, like, really was getting into him too. I mean, when he had that crazy run of finishes, that Frankie Edgar knockout was really the one that did it for me.
Jeez.
That was crazy. But yeah, no, I like him a lot. But I have him as a dark horse, though, just because, same reason kind of why I have, like, a guy like Rakic as a dark horse in his division, just because he's coming off some losses, so he's not really the guy that you're talking about right now, but one win and he's right back in there. So, like, and I think he's got all the tools, like you said. So, but in terms of my favorite, I was looking at my notes, and then I'm like, Patty Pimblett's not a bantamweight, and I'm like, I'm at lightweight. No, but my favorite prospect is actually someone that I mentioned, and it's Jack Shore. I mean, like, I think that losing to Ricky Simone is not bad.
Exactly. I was gonna say the same exact thing, because that's literally mine too. Even though Jack Shore brings back bad memories from the Timor Valley fight.
That's true. The first bet that I won on I'm 2-0 on that one.
But hey, I mean, that fight was, like, right there. It was like, whoa, like, okay, like, maybe not bet against this dude too much in the future. But I mean, even the Ricky Simone fight, like you said, like, it was literally my dark horse of the division.
Ricky Simone's good, man. Like,
that's a good, like, you know, I guess, I don't really know what the word I'm looking for is, but, like
a basis for his, like, his skill.
Yeah.
Because you could see his fight with Ricky Simone. You're like, okay, Ricky Simone's a good fighter, and Jack Shore did pretty good against him, even in the loss. So it's like, I agree. I mean, he's still number 15 too. Like, that's crazy. He's still ranked. So hopefully he can still get, like, another, like, good opponent after that. Because I agree. Like, I think he's definitely the number one prospect right now. I feel like a lot of people are gonna get mad that neither of us said Adrian Yanez, but I think that's all hype. Genuinely. I really do. Like, I think the moment he faces
like
a good striker, he's gonna get exposed for it.
I like Inez, but yeah, no, I wasn't.
He's a guy to me who's more like a Shane Burgos, like a guy who's gonna be putting on fun fights. Like, he'll get to the top 10, but like I don't think he gets past like a certain point personally. I just don't think he has the style for it or the skill, because people say he's got like insane boxing. Like, I don't see that. Like, insane boxing to me is like Floyd Mayweather, like somebody who's able to hit people and not get hit, not somebody who takes as much damage as they're giving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't consider like Max Holloway. You know, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't consider him to be one of the best boxers in the UFC too, even after that Calvin Kattar fight. It's because you can't just be getting like leveled and, you know, yeah, you're landing shots back, but that's more of like a brawler than a boxer. You know what I mean? Like, I would think of, you know, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, I know it, but I'm still going to say it. I would consider someone more like a Sean O'Malley a good boxer, because he's a guy who can hit you and light you up with a bunch of boxing combinations and then get out before you even have a chance at touching him. That's a good boxer. Or even Frankie Edgar, he's a good boxer too. He's ranked right above
Yeah,
Sean
the
O'Malley.
way O'Malley is able to use that to set up things like leg kicks and all that too.
Yeah, I just hate when people say like the best boxers in the sport are these guys who are like standing and brawling with people, like Derek Lewis. Like, he's another one. Like, he's not one of the best boxers in the UFC. Like, what are we talking about? Like, why don't we give the credit to the people who actually deserve it? Like, even like, I think, you know what? Nah, I don't really think it that much. But I was gonna say, even like Calvin Kattar and Rob Font, like, they have good boxing skills, but they're still like getting hit constantly.
Well, that's why I was talking when I was talking about Calvin Kattar, like, rather than, you know, boxer, was saying brawler, because he's very much one that he's gonna take one, but he will give it right back, and he does it super well.
Like shoulder roll, you know, like really like a lot of head movement, like guys who aren't like are very like evasive. I don't know, like they've got great boxing technique. Don't get me wrong, but like in terms of like the effectiveness of it, I'm like, yeah, it works because they give out a lot of damage, but they're also taking a crazy amount of damage, which is not good boxing. So, I just think that, like, I don't even know what the hell even started that conversation. We were talking about...
You were talking about Adrian Yanez's boxing not being up to snuff.
Exactly. He's, like, another one of those guys, in my opinion, who's just going to reach a certain point and then probably just be in a bunch of wars after that.
Yeah.
Which I love it. Like, I'm here for it. But, yeah, I mean, I guess that's why he's not on our list for prospects. But I guess we'll keep it moving because we've definitely been going for a minute. This has been a long one. I feel it this time. But the flyweights, obviously, we don't even have to talk about the next title fight because we already know it's Figgy versus Moreno.
Yeah.
4. It's not booked yet, but that's definitely what it is. I mean, Moreno's the interim
and that's
champ.
Like I was saying now, like, I don't really have a dark... I was kind of going to bounce off again of who your dark horse was. I don't really have a dark horse for this division right now just because of that fight. I just feel like until this rivalry settled between Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno, like, it's really nobody else's division.
Yeah, we got to figure out who's better between those two.
Exactly. Like, flyweight just completely runs through these two guys right now, and then once we have, you know, a definitive, you know, champion, like, and when these guys actually start fighting, you know, other names, then, you know, it'll become a bit more like easier to pinpoint, like, where guys are gonna go next and all that, I think. So that's what I'm waiting on, but I am interested to hear who you had as yours.
I have a couple dark horses. The first one I came up with was Amir Albazi because I was really impressed by his comeback win. Like, not comeback in the sense he was losing the fight, but like comeback after a long layoff. But, you know, I even look at the rankings and I think of like Mataus Nicolau. He's another one. But maybe like, actually never mind. I was going to say Brandon Royval, but I don't really think so, to be honest. But I think like guys like Amir Albazi like have the grappling to get there. I was gonna say like Muhammad Makayev too, but I picked him as my prospect instead.
Makayev, yeah.
Yeah, he's another guy who's gonna be a real threat very soon.
Seriously, that's a good one.
Not ranked yet either, so we'll see if he gets a ranked opponent in his next fight. I think me and you have been clamoring for that for a minute, so I think he's another guy that could be up there as a dark horse. But like I said, I kind of consider him a prospect still because he's not ranked. And, like, he's not going to be getting a title fight anytime soon. So right now I'll pick Amir Albazi or like Matheus Nicolau. So I guess from there though, I mean my favorite fighter, you probably know this too, is Brandon Moreno. I mean he was the coolest dude I think I met in Vegas. He was so awesome.
Man.
The energy is insane. Like how could you not love Brandon Moreno?
The heart when he's in there, how do you not root for him, you know?
Yeah, his story is incredible. I mean just from being cut from the UFC and coming back to be able to get back into like title contention from there, and obviously now he's got the interim belt back. Like he came back again from another loss. So,
easily my favorite fighter in the division too.
He's insane. Oh man, there's our one camera dying. But
on to the other.
Yeah, no, we got it set up, man. We're not stupid. Well, I feel like we are sometimes.
Yeah,
actually,
there's been times, but
we've definitely gotten a little bit
that's
better.
neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, we've had our fair share of technical difficulties, whether it be the mics, the cameras, the light bulbs that the ghost of Kamaru Usman let out on us last week. I mean, the air conditioner. Like, me and you have been definitely getting through some major adversity to get these pods out for everybody, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we've talked about all the men's divisions, so I guess real quick we can go over. We'll start from the top for the women's divisions. Women's featherweight. This could be a very quick conversation. Champion is Amanda Nunes. My favorite fighter is actually Felicia Spencer, even though she doesn't fight anymore. I was just a huge fan of her, and I'm not a big Amanda Nunes fan. I mean, like it's not it's not even that I think that she's like a bad fighter or anything. Obviously, she's like one of the greatest of all time, men or women. But I don't know. I've just never been a big Amanda Nunes fan for really no real reason. But I always liked Felicia Spencer, and the Amanda Nunes fight was honestly one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan, is because she showed so much heart throughout. She never quit, even though she was getting dominated, and because of that, that's why she's my favorite. But favorite prospect, me, I don't know.
Casper, man, let me tell you, Casper's up and coming in the women's featherweight division.
Who the fuck knows? It's like the next.
That's literally what the ranking is, because there's nobody there.
I'm looking at it like there's no literally like there's the featherweight. Oh my god! It's
literally all white. It's Casper.
There's a picture of Amanda Nunes, and then there's just nothing. It says she's the champ, and then there's nothing under it. That makes me laugh.
Casper, he's up and coming in that division.
The next title fight between Amanda Nunes, it'll probably be Amanda Nunes and some fucking bus driver from like Toledo. I don't even know, but we're just gonna gloss past that fucking waste of a division. The only thing I will say is my dark horse is Kayla Harrison, because that's the only fight that I'm any bit interested in seeing. So, yeah, I would say that she's my dark horse, and that's about it. And I'm sure you'd probably agree with that, because I genuinely have no idea who else the fuck you can tell me. Maybe like Norma Dumont on a good day. But, yeah, no. I'm going to go back. I'm going to move on to Bantamweight. So, obviously, Amanda Nunes is the champ there, after beating Juliana Pena in the rematch. Juliana Pena is my favorite fighter in that division. I love watching her fight, and like just everything about her. Like she's just really cool. She's very confident, which a lot of people who fight Amanda Nunes don't seem to be. So, and rightfully so. I mean, you're going in like against like a real tough opponent. No shit, but like I don't know. There's other fighters in that division that are good though. Like that I think could give them not really. I don't know if they could beat Amanda, but they could definitely like show up for the fight and not look like an idiot. I think Ketlin Vieira is someone that no one talks about. That's a big dark horse in that division.
That's my favorite fighter actually.
Number 2 as a dark horse, like, and I would like, you should tell me if I'm wrong. If I am, but like, am I wrong? I don't think anyone talks about Ketlin Vieira in that division for being ranked number 2. Like. Maybe it's just because they don't think she could beat Nunes, and I guess that's fair. But I don't know. Dude,
that's my favorite fighter in the division right now, too. So there's that. And in terms of because obviously she can serve as a prospect, she can serve as a dark horse, but a fight that I would actually love to see with her, my prospect and my dark horse, that would be Irene Aldana.
I think they fought.
Has that happened?
Yeah, they did. I'm
watching when I get home.
One of them, it was a bad knockout. I know that. I'm pretty sure Aldana was the one who won that one, but let me make sure.
There you go, man.
I could be right. Could be wrong. Yeah, it was UFC 245 in 2019. Usman versus Covington won, and she beat Ketlin Vieira. That's right. It was a huge left hook, first round, and then ground and pound ended the fight. So Irene Aldana right now has the edge, but hey, I mean that's a rematch I wouldn't mind seeing though. Maybe make it 5 rounds.
Yeah,
Fuck
dude.
it.
I would. Oh, that would be awesome.
Why
man.
not? I mean, Holly Holm is ranked number 3 because Aldana's number 4 and Vieira's number 2, and then Holly Holm is at number 3. I don't. I like Holly Holm might be the one fighter that I see every time like it's on like a main event of a fight night that I genuinely just don't care.
Just scoff at.
Because it's like she's not beating Amanda Nunes. It's not gonna happen. Like I don't
not.
care what anybody says. It's never gonna happen. She's too old.
That's what I'm
point.
saying, man.
Too many injuries. Like the explosiveness to do that.
I
is
would
just not
love,
there at
like,
this
I
point.
would really love to see Ketlin or Irene Aldana get that opportunity.
Yeah, I never really thought about that at first because honestly, I figured more like after the Pena trilogy, which is probably what should happen. I don't know if it will, but it should happen. But after that fight, I was saying that Vieira should possibly even get the next title shot. But yeah, I actually like a title eliminator between her and Irene Aldana as a main event for a fight night. Because, like, I feel like they don't have enough good female main events, like, for the fight nights nowadays. Like, they have them, like, once in a blue moon, and, like, they never even really mean much. Like, Miesha Tate versus Ketlin Vieira, like, that wasn't a title eliminator, really, at that point. Like, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah.
I think that a fight between 2 actual top contenders rather than big names, I think would do a lot for the division. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I go with that one. Do you have any prospects that you like in that division? I found it, honestly, a lot harder to find the prospects.
Well, Aldana was my prospect, too, pretty much.
See, I picked one that was ranked lower. I think, is she ranked? Yeah. Number 9, Pani Kanziad. I think, or Kianzad, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah,
She's
dude.
really
For
good.
me, because I, like... Honestly, number 4, like, I think Irene Aldana is better than number 4, so that's mainly what
I think
it is.
she's better than... I'll put it like this. She's number 4. Number 3 is Holly Holm, who she's lost to. But right now, I think Aldana is more of a threat at the title than Holm is. So,
Yep.
for me, I get why they can't put her above Holly because, you know, when you lose, it's kind of difficult, especially when it's one-sided. But... yeah, I mean, the only reason why I wouldn't pick her maybe as a prospect is just because I feel like she's fought the established names and, like, we kind of know who
fair.
she is. So, Pani Kianzad is one that, like, really piqued my interest because I remember I think she beat Lena Landsberg in her last fight and she, like, lit her up on the feet. And she's good everywhere. So, like, I'm a big fan of her, honestly, coming up. And I think that she could make a lot of noise in this division as time goes on. I mean, like I said, right now she is number 9. So, she's in the top 10. And, yeah, I mean, I think she only goes up from there. But, you know, we'll move on to the women's flyweights. Obviously, the champion, longtime champion, Valentina Shevchenko. And now this is a next title fight we can kind of actually get into a little bit because I think it's up in the air because Valentina is another one who maybe she goes up to 135 and fights Amanda again. I don't personally see that happening because I don't think Amanda's really interested. And I think that there's fights in her division. Like, I don't see why people want her to go up. Like, I get that she's been dominating, but, like, there's Manon Fiorot who's fighting Chukagian in Paris. You know, if she wins, she's going to get a title shot. You know, Talia Santos barely lost to Valentina. I thought she beat Valentina. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm not clamoring right now to see her go up to fight Amanda Nunes because I think there's still some blood for her in the flyweight division as good as she's looked. So, but who would be your next matchup with Valentina if you had to choose?
Man, that's one I didn't... It's really tough because the Talia Santos fight, I can't really get past that, you know. I just feel like that's something that just is bound to happen again.
I need it to.
Because it should.
I feel like the UFC's not going to do it.
That's what I mean, man. Like, I can't really think beyond that for a next title fight for Valentina.
Me neither. That's
She's
what I want.
She's just beaten all
Because
of them.
Because for me, it's like if Fiorot wins, I get why they would give it to her because she's beaten the number 1 contender at that point. But, like, in my opinion, not in my opinion, it's a fact. The headbutt changed that fight. Talia Santos was dominating that fight on the ground until that moment. And then that's what changed the whole trajectory of it. That's why I want to see a rematch so bad. But there's, like, plenty of other, like, fighters there, too. Like, Alexa Grasso's number 5. You know, I mean, Lauren Murphy's slowly working her way back to a title shot. I don't know if she gets it anytime soon just because of the same thing like with Chukagian. Like, if you get beat that bad by Valentina, it's kind of hard to get right back in there. But Lauren Murphy's my favorite fighter in the division, so I hope she does get back there. She's cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of different things. Like, there's a lot of directions I feel like you could go with it. But I guess maybe from there, because we kind of I feel like we're both equally kind of in agreement that Taia Santos deserves the next title shot, if anybody.
Yeah.
Maybe Manon Fiorot if she gets the win. I think she probably will get it if she does win. But in terms of dark horses, I mean, there's plenty in this division. I mean, you got Erin Blanchfield at number 12, who's also my favorite prospect in the division.
Yep,
a lot of good grapplers coming up that I like Casey O'Neill, Tracy Cortez, in terms of prospects. See Molly McCann at number 15. I just laughed at the thought of her fighting Valentina. But yeah, and another dark horse though that I thought of, and the only reason why she's not really being talked about yet in this division is because she actually hasn't fought there yet. But Tatiana Suarez, who was one of the best strawweights on the planet before she was getting injured all the time, and obviously now she's out of the rankings because of it, sadly. But before that, she was trying to return at 125, and I want to say she actually had a fight booked, but I don't remember against who, to be honest. And she's a dark horse to me because kind of for the same reason that Bo Nickel is my prospect for middleweight, because her wrestling is that good. If Taia Santos can take down Valentina like that, then she can definitely do it. That's my view. So I think that that Tatiana Suarez is more of a threat to the belt than people think, and especially just because she hasn't fought in so long. I think that's why people think that. But I don't know. What do you think of Tatiana Suarez, if anything? I don't know if you have many thoughts on her, just because she hasn't fought in a long time.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. I would like to see her that first fight back first, and then really get a. Is she booked for a fight?
Not now. She was when she got injured, but I can't remember who was against for the life of me.
I definitely do know of the name of Tatiana Suarez. She's been around for a little bit now. I think she does deserve her flowers as one of these OGs in the around just women's MMA in general. But
yeah, I mean, Carla Esparza is the strawweight champ, and she ragdolled Carla Esparza.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Carla's strength is wrestling, so that just shows you how good Tatiana's is. And I love all the grapplers that are coming up at 125. Like I said, Erin Blanchfield is obviously my prospect of my favorite prospect per se. She's another one who right now her grappling might be on that level already. Her striking's definitely got to get there in terms of fighting the best, but her grappling I think is already at that elite level. And same thing with Tracy Cortez and Casey O'Neill. And Casey O'Neill hurting her knee was rough. I hated seeing that she tore her ACL, but Tracy Cortez is another one. I mean, Erin Blanchfield's only loss is to Tracy. So those are two people who are in the teens of the rankings who are slowly working their way up. And obviously Erin has Molly McCann matched up, and I think that's going to be a showcase for Erin Blanchfield. Makes me think that's kind of why they booked it. Because the more I thought about it, I'm why would they... Because I said, why would they book Molly McCann against someone who's going to whoop her ass? But then I'm well, they're in New York. So Erin Blanchfield's close to home. You're going to get a lot of hometown love. And I think this is the showcase fight. I think they want her to beat up a big star in her home area. And I think that's how they're going to push her from now on.
That's how I was looking at it. Here's Erin to, stop this hype train and make a name more for herself rather than...
Which I think she basically...
Everyone,
99% sure she does.
Exactly. So, yeah, for me, I literally have one name for the dark horse prospect and favorite fighter, and it's Stone Cold it's Stone Cold Blanchfield right there. Yeah.
I'm a big fan
exactly,
of hers.
Man.
I like watching her a lot.
She's putting on,
good fighters
and she's showcased a lot so far in her UFC career. So yeah, man, we're obviously huge fans here. So we'd love to see her keep climbing to the top.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to see what happens in November. Can't wait to see how she does it. But I'm hammering all my money on her to win by submission.
You have to, dude.
So by then I'll really be betting on it. But anyway, I guess that leads us to our final division. That's women's strawweight, and the champ there is Carla Esparza. Obviously, her last fight was nothing remarkable, and I don't even really want to talk about it. But she's booked against Zhang Weili in November, same card as the Erin Blanchfield one we were just talking about. That's obviously also Izzy versus Bejeda. So Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili, that's a fight that I'm interested in. But off the top of your head, like what do you think of that fight? Like who do you think has like the advantages and where?
I think it is a tough fight, but one that Zhang Weili, I think like she's just gonna completely bring Carla into her wheelhouse. I feel like whether it's on the feet through striking or even like obviously Carla and her wrestling, but I think Zhang, she can be able to work the ground too. Any like clinch situations or whatnot that she can maybe put some damage on. I just think, you know, if it's on the feet, I think it's a handily win for Zhang Weili, and even if it's not like
still close,
exactly, it's gonna be close. So like
strength is a big thing for me because I think Zhang Weili is gonna be a lot stronger than Carla, and like Carla,
I
gonna have a hard time taking her down.
I just don't think. You know, I don't think Carla's really seen someone like this yet.
Yeah, so. She's not gonna be fighting like Rose was. Like
no, she's not.
Zhang Weili is gonna be trying to take Carla's head off, and like she's got enough power where she legitimately could. I mean, like
Carla's she's gonna have like whether she wants to or not, like she's gonna have to engage with Zhang Weili. So
she's gonna be getting walked down.
Exactly. I don't really know how she'll figure how to do that, but.
Good luck. Good
luck. Yeah.
Her wrestling is great, but I don't know if it's gonna hold up against someone like Zhang Weili, who's such like a good athlete for the sport, and like her punching power is legitimately like hard enough to knock anybody out. I mean, that knockout against Joanna was fucking crazy, but from there though, like it's just like there's so many like people who are like good in that division. Like I said, women's strawweight is probably the deepest one for the. I mean, flyweight's actually starting to get there. Just because of all the people who are coming up, but strawweight I think is better just because like there's.
I think it feels like and especially with Amanda Nunes, running two of the 4 divisions for so long. Like I think strawweight's always been like the premier division for women's MMA. Yeah. Just the one with the most like just variety and parity and like you said all that. So yeah, that's really how I think that goes. And when I won't say when Zhang Weili becomes champion, but if she does, like, oh man, we could see like Amanda Nunes, especially with Joanna like done, and then Rose, who she lost to, but I don't know exactly who. If that happens again, like I don't think it's really not gonna. I don't really see it going the same way it did the first time.
I think I
don't
feel like this last title fight might have really fucked with Rose's head. Like I think that one.
Yeah, and like I hate to say this too, but it just like especially now it feels like Rose just caught lightning in a bottle in that last fight. So
I don't agree with that. I think Rose even now is one of the best, if not.
It didn't even feel right saying that, but that's just how I feel at the moment until proven otherwise. Yeah, that's just me.
You have though. You haven't proved otherwise. I mean, she's beaten like so many not even top contenders, champions. She beat Zhang twice, Joanna twice. I mean, she beat Jessica Andrade.
But you just said it yourself. If this last win is really fucking with Rose, like how is that gonna?
Yeah, that's not the same thing as lightning in a bottle. I think like Jorge Masvidal is what you would call lightning in a bottle, like someone like who doesn't.
All right,
who shouldn't have even been there. I see
what you mean now.
If that's your definition of it, though, then I guess you're right. But like, I mean, that's just the way I feel. Like my definition of lightning in a bottle would be like what Masvidal was in 2019. Just got good matchups and he executed it to perfection. And then once he got put against a guy who was actually like on that level, like Usman, that's when he got exposed. And that's why I think that was lightning in a bottle, because Ben-Askren, Darren Till, and Nate Diaz isn't exactly a crazy good resume up to a title fight. So that's just how I feel. Like Rose, in my opinion, I don't call it lightning in a bottle just because she's proven over and over again that she can beat legitimate like Hall of Fame level fighters. Yeah. But hey, who knows? I mean, she's proven everybody wrong before.
I more would like to just see, a lengthy title reign from Rose, if that can happen. But
yeah, I don't know if it'll ever happen. I think it's just too she's too inconsistent, like mentally, like even physically, honestly, with the game plan. Like, and she was mad like after she lost that fight. I remember.
Yeah, dude. She made it like, I think she made Carla feel way too comfortable.
Exactly. Obviously, she felt comfortable. Nothing was going on. I think me or you would have felt comfortable in that fight. Like, you know, we've obviously made jokes about how we'd fare against some UFC fighters, but like at that pace, shit, I can go 5 rounds just standing there. No, I'm just fucking around with that one. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that the strawweight division is still obviously like really good. I think that last title fight was just like a fluke type of fight, and that this one is going to be a better one. But there's so many other fighters in the division. Like, I think Marina Rodriguez is my sleeper pick because I think that she should be getting the title fight already. But that's just me. But people don't talk about her that much. Probably because she's quiet. She doesn't speak much English. So it's like that's probably why too. Because the UFC is like a very American-based company. But I don't know. I think that she's my sleeper pick. But do you have any dark horses in that division?
Yeah, and it's someone that's been around for a little while too, who like gives a lot of these names like a run for their money. And I think honestly, like this like next like phase of her career, like I think is the one, if there's going to be one, like I think is the one to like, you know, maybe not so much win the title but get the opportunity at least.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Virna Jandiroba. I hope I said that right. Yeah,
that's
Virna Jandiroba.
Number 10.
Exactly. Yeah, I think this is the time for her to because I think she's already shown it. She's, you know, she can hang around with these names that she's already fought, and then I think she's able to hang around with this top portion of the division as well. Even if like she was booked to like fight Zhang Weili or something, I feel like that would be an absolute like just like slugfest. Yeah, dude.
Right.
So,
good fight.
Yeah,
I'm with you
that's
on that
how I'm
one.
feeling about her. I think, yeah, once again, if there's gonna be a run for her to get that opportunity in that shot, I think it's this one. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, she's getting in her 30s now, so you're right. It really is kind of like now or never time.
Exactly.
But man, I mean, I don't know about you, but my larynx is almost toast. So I think I'll say this: we just gave a whole like state of the UFC right there. Like, I think if you guys don't understand what's going on with the rankings now, then you're never gonna understand it, because I think we just broke it down like as detailed as you could possibly break it down. So.
Well, I do want to say one
Sure.
last thing about strawweight. So not completely everything, but Amanda Lemos.
Yeah, that's another one too.
Amanda Lemos has to be like really like obviously
even
on this
one
one.
for me, who just beat Lemos.
Yeah, man. I think because Lemos, if I'm not mistaken, is currently on a 5-fight winning streak.
Nah, the loss to Andrade.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think she just beat someone though. I want to say I can't think of who. Oh, she just beat Michelle Watterson.
Yeah. That's right. That could
that was the fight after.
That was in Long Island, I think. Yeah. Yeah, no, Amanda Lemos, I definitely still think needs to be talked about more.
No, I agree. She could definitely be champ.
Yeah, she's one of my top prospects, and even like a dark horse too. But I mean, more like
I put her in the dark horse category. Honestly, I agree. Like, she's definitely up there. But
yeah,
it's definitely an interesting time we're living in with the UFC, with so many fighters on the roster, and
it's so crazy to think how like much how much this like will change in like 2 months.
Yeah, even like after UFC Paris, like there's 3 divisions that have like high like stakes fights. Like heavyweight has a high stakes fight, obviously in the main event with Gane and Tuivasa. Then the middleweights, you got Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vettori, and then obviously, you know, the flyweights we just mentioned. We might be seeing a new number 1 contender come out of this card. So you're right. Like, a lot can change in a very short amount of time. But I think that we broke it down as well as we possibly could. And talked about as
just in
people.
time for the next pay-per-view too, which is really cool. So
yeah, exactly. And that pay-per-view is starting to shape up. At first it was looking pretty shitty, but now it's with the Ferguson fight, and now Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez, which is, God, I love that matchup a lot, because that's going to be a war, honestly.
I love it. I love these fights Kevin Holland gets, dude.
Yeah, they're giving him fun ones. Like that's a great matchup for him, really. So I'm intrigued to see how it goes. But I guess before we go, we do have one more thing to talk about real quick. That is now, obviously we got the UFC this weekend, and there was only really one championship. There was some Fury grappling, which was pretty good. But then there was also that YouTube boxing card with KSI. But we're not here to talk about the KSI fight. We made a promise to a friend that if a certain comedian got a win, we would definitely talk about it on the show. And Sam Hyde beat some other guy, I don't even know. He beat him in a 3-round boxing match and on that card on his own. And, the cardio for both guys was nothing to write home about. They definitely were not ready for the 3-round distance, which is, in boxing is 9 minutes of fighting. But, besides that, I mean, like, if you're going to analyze the fight, I mean, the other guy that Sam was fighting, he was trying to counter Sam's jab, which was landing a lot, honestly. He was trying to counter it with a lot of overhands, and they were not landing. Like, Sam could clearly tell that was coming from the get-go, and he was getting hit with some. I mean, because, these guys, they're big guys. It was a heavyweight fight, and, they're not the most athletic fellows in the world. But, for a comedian to get into the ring, and even if it's against another, like, online presence and not like a boxer, I respect it. I respect the balls that comes with that. I mean, according to Sam Hyde, before the fight, his balls were getting pretty big. Viewer discretion is advised for what we're about to talk about, but his post-fight interview was crazy. I think he literally, threatened a guy's life. That was kind of crazy. The guy took it seriously, even though he was clearly joking, but that's just how people are nowadays. They're just idiots. But, besides that, he was talking... I don't know, now, for our listeners, I don't know if you guys know about the old, saying about boxers that they don't have sex or anything before the fight, because it messes with your cardio and your legs. But Sam Hyde said... he goes, I have not jerked off since Tuesday. What did he say in that video? He goes, I'm pissing pre-cum. He said his girlfriend texted him and said she was gonna drain him like a prostitute. This is a guy that's fresh off a TKO win, have you? Imagine if someone in the UFC, or even boxing, just said that in the cage or the ring. So imagine just one of these big time HBO, or well, not HBO anymore, but I don't know, Top Rank Boxing pay-per-view or something like that, or Showtime pay-per-view, and the guy goes up to a famous boxer. Let's say Tyson Fury. Well, Tyson Fury actually would say some shit like that. Tyson Fury is the same guy who said that he does whack it 7 times a day. So if that's true, maybe Sam's not really too crazy, but he got a TKO win, and he's retiring undefeated, 1-0. As much as I want to keep talking about how hilarious his post-fight interview was, I also do want to, maintain some sort of I don't even know, how to describe, that interview, man, but, it's on YouTube, probably.
Well, if you know who Sam Hyde is, I don't think it really surprises you.
No. I mean, he literally, I think he called out, some streamer, and then they were like, oh, so you... They're like, oh, so you want to box him? He's like, no. He's like, I'm gonna go to his house and I'm gonna beat him up. I'm like, okay. And then I'm pretty sure the guy took it seriously, which just, come on, the guy's a comedian. You really think he's being serious? But it's just funny. He goes, never doing that again. Way too hard. So, but respect to Sam for getting in there one fight. That's why he wants to come to his house, because he can't take a joke. Probably, honestly. I mean, I don't know much about the situation, but I'm sure that's part of the reason. But Sam Hyde, 1-0 in boxing, will stay 1-0, forever undefeated. I think, it's a little too early to bring him up in the conversation with Muhammad Ali and Tyson Fury and Mike Tyson, but I do think that with this win, he's really close.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think right now it's Ali, Fury, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Sam Hyde. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.